Hi everyone. I am just making sure that we are up and running and we're in the right spot. So bear with me just one moment. There we go. Okay. I think I am on my page, which is the right place. And I'm just gonna go over here to my computer and share the video. If you're joining in, let me know, comment in the comments, say hi. Don't forget to share. Those who share will be entered in to win the projects that I create tonight. I'll send those out to you if you're the lucky winner. So, just making sure I'm in the right spot. Okay. I think we're good. All right. Happy Monday. I hope you're all having a great day. It's Monday, which is usually, I have to go back to work or I have to go back to school. But Mondays are exciting because you get to craft live with me. So tonight I have 3 cards that I'm going to make with you. The first card or the first 2 cards, I guess, is the same design, just different colors. So I wanted to show you the versatility. And then I've got 1 additional card, which is actually a gift card holder. So showing you how to create something that's beyond just the traditional Christmas cards. So I'm just going to flip my camera here. And, no, maybe not. Are we already experiencing technical difficulties? I think we might be. Stand with me just one moment. Oh, you have to love when technology doesn't work for us. All right, we're gonna try this again. And see if this works. All right, what are we seeing here? We in the right spot. If you are seeing my workstation, can you just leave me a comment and let me know? I'm not sure what we're seeing. Still don't think we're seeing the right things, so we're gonna try this again. Sorry guys, I'm using new technology and there are some glitches tonight apparently. And if you see me looking away from the camera, it's because I'm checking my feed. Oh, and I think we might have it. Okay, so we're gonna try over here. So I wanted to create the first project tonight using a stamp set from the annual catalog. This was actually a carryover from last year. It is the Perfectly Plaid stamp set. It's one of my favorites. And I wanted to play with it again. I actually used it for my team gifts this past week for our Christmas party and realized that I haven't played with it much this year, so I'm pulling it back out. And we're going to use a couple of different stamps from it, primarily the sentiments, because we're going to use the coordinating punch that goes with the stamp set. So the first card I'm going to make, and I did not make samples with these, so I'm really just doing this off the cuff. The base I'm using is Whisper White 8.5 by 5.5, and I'm going to fold that in half to be 8.5 by 4.25. And grab my bone folder, burnish the edges here. Like my headband balloon. I'm just seeing comments now. All right, so this paper that I'm using is from the Plaid Tidings 6x6 DSP pack, and the piece I am attaching directly to the base using my Stampin' seal is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and we've put that right on the base. I absolutely love this plaid paper, one of my favorites. So I'm going to pull in my tree punch, and I'm going to stamp on the right side, or punch, excuse me, on the right side of a piece of Whisper White. And this piece of Whisper White measures 4 1/2 by 3 1/4. So I want to punch on the right side, and I want to try and center it top to bottom as much as possible. So if you turn your punch to the side, you can play with your cardstock in the punch and line it up as best as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to try and get it as close as you can. So I'm going to go right about there. So there's our tree. And now we're going to stamp our sentiment. So I'm going to pull in, I think I'm going to do Merry Christmas. And I'm going to stamp in Shaded Spruce, as that's one of the complementary colors in the DSP. And if I hold this up to the camera, you can kind of see that line there is the lovely Shaded Spruce. I'm going to pull in my block. I am using a C block. And again, Shaded Spruce ink. So I'm just going to ink up my Merry Christmas. I'm going to stamp that beside my tree. Like so. And now I'm going to use Stampin' Dimensionals to attach that to my card front. I'm just going to peel the backs off the dimensionals. Just center that as best as possible. And there we have a super quick and easy card. Minimal stamping, some punching, and that paper pops through. It's just absolutely amazing. I love it. So that's the first card. So I want to create a second card in different colors for you. So I'm going to put my Shaded Spruce away. And I'm going to clean my stamp. So I'm going to use that same paper pack. I'm going to use the same dimensions, but this time I'm going to use a black base. So again, 8 1/2 by 5 1/2. We're going to fold it in half. Burnish the edge with your bone folder. Give it that nice crisp fold. And this time I'm using this lovely bright pink piece of the Plaid Tidings DSP. So it's got shades of Melon Mambo and Seaside Spray. It's got Whisper White in there. It's absolutely lovely. If you wanted to use the reverse side, it's just as bright and fun. So I'm going to use the side here. I realize my lighting's really not that great tonight. Let me see if I can fix that a little bit. There we go. So maybe the camera will pick that up a little bit better. So same thing, we're going to attach it right to our base. We want to leave that nice 1/8 of an inch border, so the DSP measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. So that's attached to our base. And then our basic black, same thing, so 4.5 by 3 1/4. And we're going to punch out on the right side here. There's our tree. And you can hang on to these tree punches and create something with them. And this time I'm going to actually heat emboss. So I'm going to pull in, so I have an embossing buddy. These have been discontinued, but I still use it every chance I get because it really does limit the static on your projects. And then I'm going to pull in Versamark ink and stamp that same Merry Christmas in the Versa. And then I'm going to sprinkle it with Whisper White embossing powder. It's actually just white, it's not Whisper White. Make sure that's nice and covered. So there's our sentiment. I'm just going to put my embossing powder back in the pot. These trays we used to carry, we no longer do, but I love them. A folded piece of paper or a coffee filter works just as well, or you can even pour your embossing powder into small Tupperware containers and spoon it onto your project. Works great too. So I'm just going to set that with my heat tool, and this is going to be a little bit loud, so I apologize. All this does is it sets the powder. So if you've not heat embossed before, the heat tool sets the powder, and now I've got this lovely raised image on top of my black cardstock. And what I like about this is it allows you to put sentiments on black or dark colors, but you can also go in and color it. So I'm going to use our watercolor pencils, and I'm going to pull in the Melon Mambo because it coordinates with our cardstock base. And I am going to color the sentiment. There's our Mary. And our Christmas. This is a great way to be able to heat emboss in colors that we don't actually carry. Just stamp in the Whisper White and then use our watercolor pencils, series 1 or 2, to get the colors that you wouldn't necessarily have. So there's our Merry Christmas in the Melon Mambo, and again we're going to use Stampin' Dimensionals to stick that to our base. And I'm using more dimensionals than I normally would on a project just because I want to support the negative space from the tree. Just want to make sure my base opens the right way. So then we're going to put our basic black right on top of our DSP. So there is card number 2. And of course, I feel like these are missing something, so I'm going to pull in some rhinestones. Because every project needs something, in my opinion, whether it's rhinestones or a ribbon. And we're just going to put a spattering of some rhinestones on there, just to dress it up a little bit. So there is project number 1. What do you think? So simple, easy to replicate. I mean, you could really do a bunch of these in no time at all if you're still looking to make Christmas cards to get out to your family and friends. So I'm going to tuck those aside and I'm going to show you project number 2. And as I mentioned at the start, this one is actually a gift card holder. I'm just going to clean my stamp and get my workstation clean so that we can make the next project together. And it's going to be using the Warm Hugs stamp set. And the design I'm using is actually one that I learned, thanks Laura. It's a design I learned at a recent demonstrator training I did with some fellow Canadian demonstrators. And it was one of our make and take projects. I loved it so much that I have adapted it to my own design in terms of the colors and the papers, but the actual template for the project is theirs. So, to start, move my stamp set to the side. So I have a piece of basic black that measures 5.5 by 4.25. It is not folded, it's just a single piece of cardstock. And then I have another piece of that beautiful DSP from the Plaid Tidings 6 by 6 inch pack. And it measures 4 inches by 5.25, and we're going to attach that right to our base. So you can see I've used 3 different papers from the same pack to create 3 different cards. I'm actually going to pull in a 4th paper in this project. So you can stick that to the side for a moment. The next piece of cardstock I'm using is a piece of Mary Merlot, and it measures 9 3/4 by 4.25. So again, 9 3/4 by 4.25, and we're going to score it. So I'm going to pull in my scoring my Stampin' trimmer and use the scoring blade, which is the light gray blade. And I just want to check my measurements. So we're going to score at 3 1/4 and 6 1/2. So I'm going to open up my ruler so I can get that 6 1/2 inch measurement properly, which is right there. So there are our score lines. Once you've scored it, you can tuck your trimmer to the side. And with our score lines, we're going to create a Z fold. So we're going to fold that way, and we're going to fold on top of itself. So it creates that Z. And I like to burnish my edges because I like that nice sharp fold. And this piece of Mary Merlot gets attached right to the base. And you can decide if you want it to open up or if you want it to fold down. Completely up to you. I think I'm going to do mine folding up. So I'm going to use my Stampin' seal once again. If you wanted a stronger hold, You could use our Seal Plus or our Tear and Tape on this project. And you just want to try and center that as best as possible. I'm going to flip it over and give it a good rub because I want it to be nice and secure. So there is the foundation of our project, and now we get to decorate. So I have a piece of the Plaid Tiding CSP. It coordinates, it's the black and white tones. And this piece is 4 inches by 2 inches. And I'm pulling in our 2-inch punch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a notch at the top of the DSP. Try and center it as best as possible. Doesn't have to be perfect. And just create a little notch like so, because you want to be able to grab the gift card that you're going to put in the pocket. And here you do want to use your Tear and Tape. I'll show you why. So this is going to be the pocket for the gift card. And you're going to put it on 3 edges. So you do the 2 sides and across the bottom. You do not want to tape the top. And it's okay if it hangs over the edge because we're going to fold that in on itself afterwards. You just want to make sure it's not too far up because you want your gift card to be able to fit securely. So I'm actually putting the tape on hanging off the DSP about halfway. You can see it's got that edge. So once you've got that on there, you just peel off the back. And with that piece that hangs off, you can just fold that back in on itself. Like so. And so this piece is going to go right on the Mary Merlot that is attached to the card base, leaving that 1/8 of an inch border. I'll just give it a good rub. And that's where your gift card's going to go. So if I were to tuck a business card in there, just for demonstration purposes, you can see it slides in nice and easy, fits perfectly, and allows the recipient to pull that gift card out relatively easily. Now we want to start to decorate a little bit more. So what I've done is I've cut a piece of Whisper White, and this piece measures 4 inches by 3 inches. And we're going to stamp our sentiment on this one. So we're using, like I said, the Warm Hugs. And I think I'm going to use So Very Merry. And Mary Merlot ink. So there's our sentiment. And what I love about this set is it has some super cute imagery. So I actually want to use the little coffee cup. So I'm going to pull out my coffee cup, the filler for my coffee cup, and the little steamy swirls. And I'm going to grab some of my smaller blocks here. And I need my Memento ink. So I'm going to stamp the cup outline in Memento, just down here in the corner. And then I'm going to clean that and put it away. So I can use my center. And this I'm going to stamp in the Mary Merlot. And I'm going to stamp it off once so it's not quite so dark before I use it to fill in our cup, like so. So there's our little coffee cup. And then I'm going to come back in with the Memento with our steamy swirls right above the cup. And there is our beautiful center. So now that's going to get attached to the center panel just using your Stampin' Seal. And again, it should have that beautiful 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. Give it a rub, make sure it's attached. And that just leaves what will be the front of our card or our gift card holder. So for this one, I want to use a basic black to tie it all together. So it's going to have that nice Mary Merlot border, but I want to emboss this one. So I'm pulling out our Winter Snow embossing folder. So I'm going to run this through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And did you see my updates that the Baby Boss is now available? That's super exciting. I can't wait to get mine. It might just be a Christmas present to myself. And it will come in handy for doing my lives like this when I don't need a ton of space. So for this, I'm using a level 1, a level 3, and then another level 3 when I'm running it through my machine. Just going to tuck that aside for a moment because we're going to need it again. And when we open that up, we have this beautifully embossed piece of basic black. But of course, we need some sparkle. So I'm going to pull in my Wink of Stella. And I just want to brush it over some of the raised edges of the snowflakes. You don't have to get them all, it doesn't have to be colored perfectly, just to add some shimmer to some of the images. I love Wink of Stella. It just adds the most delicate bit of sparkle to your projects. It's not too much, it's just the right amount. It's just that subtle embellishment you need to take your project to the next level. So you can see that I've just added the Wink of Stella there. So then the next thing I want to do is I want to use some ribbon, but before I attach it to the base, I want to attach the ribbon. So what I like to do is do cheater knots. So I'm using the metallic edged Whisper White ribbon, and I'm going to wrap it around the cardstock and just put some adhesive on the back to hold it in place until you wrap the edges around and secure them. And then that ribbon is held tightly in place to the front. And then I have a slightly shorter piece of that same ribbon, which I tuck underneath, and then just tie in a single overhand knot, pull tight, to create that faux knot look. And then you can trim your edges however you want them. So there's my faux bow. I'm just going to slide the knot down a little bit because I want it more centered. So there's our bow. So now that can get attached right to our base. Starting to look more like a present. But I think we need a sentiment on there. So we're going to do some more stamping. I'm going to pull back in our stamp set, Warm Hugs. And I think I'm going to use the For You. Just this one here. And we're going to stamp in the Mary Merlot again. So I just have a scrap of Whisper White because we're going to use the coordinating dies to cut this out. So For You, like so. And then I also have a scrap of Mary Merlot because one of the dies is a cute little heart that we're going to punch out as well. So we are going to use the heart on the Mary Merlot here. And then we're going to use this piece. Actually, I stand corrected. I'm going to use this die that kind of looks like a stop sign on the Mary Merlot. I'm going to use this die to cut out our sentiment. And I'm actually going to use basic black cardstock for our heart. So I'm just going to grab a little scrap. You don't need much. Let's see. Scrap. And then we'll pull the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine back in. So when you're building your sandwich with these dies, you want a level 1, level 2, your level 3, then you're going to create your sandwiches with your papers. So I've got my Mary Merlot, I've got my Whisper White with my sentiment, and now I have my basic black with my heart. And they all fit on the cutting plate, so I'm going to cut them all at once. And hope they don't shift. There we go. Just tuck the machine out of the way because I'm done with my cutting. So there's my heart. There's my sentiment. And then my little stop sign, we'll call it. And now we get to do some attaching. So I'm going to use my little stop sign as my mat behind my sentiment. So I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal and apply that right to the card base. So. And then my For You, we're going to put right on top. And I think I want to pop that up. So I'm going to pull in my Stampin' Dimensionals. And for this one, I'm going to use the minis, just so there's no risk of it hanging off the edge unseemly. Just peel off the back. Oh, and again, my lighting is all weird. Sorry about that. center our For You on our little stop sign. Pop that up, and then we're going to attach our heart in the center of that. And in this instance, I'm going to use 2 Stampin' Dimensionals to create extra lift, and I'm going to use the larger ones. So what I'm doing is I'm applying a large dimensional on the heart, peeling off the back, and then placing another dimensional directly on top to give it extra lift. So now I'm peeling the back off that, and it's going to go right in the center of our sentiment. And there we have our gift card holder. How fun is that? Not terribly complicated to create, but has that wow factor. And the best part is it fits in one of our standard medium envelopes, so you can stick it in the mail to your loved ones this holiday season. So there are the 3 cards that made for you tonight. I will post pictures of these up on my blog and Facebook page later tonight. Don't forget, if you subscribe to my newsletter, one went out today advising you of the sale that begins tomorrow, and that is on our clearance rack is being refreshed, but it's also our year-end blowout, which means there are lots of products that are discounted and you're not going to want to miss out. It starts at 2:01 a.m. Eastern Time, which is 12:01 Mountain Time. And let me tell you that in the past, things have sold really quickly. So if there's something that you've been eyeing and waiting for it to go on sale, now is your chance to stock up, but don't wait. It won't last forever, and I would hate for you to miss it on your favorite products. Don't forget to use my host code, which you can see in the top of your screen. And when you're shopping online with me, enter that host code. Qualifying orders will qualify for my Inkblot rewards. So you will not only get the deal of the week, but there are also incentives as well. Be sure to check out my website, www.inkspireme.com/rewards for full details. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it, and I hope you all have a fantastic week. Thanks so much.